He is originally from Maryland, attended University of Maryland, has an undergraduate degree of Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry and a Bachelor of Arts in Biopsychology. I'm not even sure what that is. He also studied abroad in the Netherlands and at Zimbabwe. He holds the rank of Vice Admiral in the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps. Please welcome to the program the 20th Surgeon General of the United States, Dr. Jerome Adams. Dr. Adams, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. Dr. Adams, thank you for taking the time. I really do appreciate it. I know you're pretty busy. Can we start with the criticism you received for merely giving commonsensical advice to black and brown children? You used some slang, and some people criticize you for using a condescending term. All you were doing, in my opinion, is giving information to people, which I thought was your job. What was your response to the controversy?
Well, one of the things that people don't know about me, if they don't know me, is that I always speak from the heart and I always speak from personal experience. So I talk about my brother who has been incarcerated for his drug use. I talk about my mother who had a stroke just a few months ago. I talk about my big mama, and yes, I do have a big mama. My mother and my grandmother had the same first name, so we use that terminology. Just to be honest, what I failed to really appreciate is that when you're standing there on that podium in the White House, there are people who are inclined to interpret things in one way or another. And the fact is, I meant no offense to anyone. I was just speaking from the heart about what I think people need to know to stay safe. And I talked about the systemic issues that lead to people of color not having as many opportunities to make good choices. But I also thought it was important that people know there are things we can do to help prevent the spread of coronavirus. And that's what I was talking about. And so, again, my apologies to anyone who's offended, but no offense was meant. It was meant to try to arm people with the facts so that we can all get through this together.
Well, Dr. Adams, not only, in my opinion, did you do the right thing, but you certainly don't owe anybody any apology. I'm born and raised in L.A., Dr. Adams, and a longtime congressperson has been Maxine Waters. And several years ago, Maxine Waters was dedicating a youth center for a number of young black people. And here's what she said, quote, "We say no matter what you've done, you don't get too bad for us. We ain't scared of nobody. We don't run from nobody. We your mama, we your grandmama," and on and on and on, Dr. Adams. And the LA Times said that she addressed 100 young people, quote, "with sweetened street patois," close quote. Nobody called it condescending. Nobody had a problem with it, but they had a problem with what you said. And it's just a double standard. And in my opinion, but for the fact that you are on the wrong team, the Trump team, you wouldn't have had that backlash.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because, again, I've always throughout my career just tried to speak very honestly to people and speak to them. I'm still a practicing physician. Mm-hmm. And when I'm talking to patients, I think about my own mother, and I speak to them the way I would speak to my own mother, not the way two doctors would speak to one another. And so I'm just going to keep on trying to do the right thing and trying to communicate with people as best I can. And it's a crazy world, Larry. I mean, I tell you, I was talking with a prominent civil rights leader earlier this week, and that person said to me, look, you're dealing with a once-in-a-century public health crisis superimposed on an impeachment trial, mm-hmm. and that's now well into an election campaign. And so what I want people to try to understand is regardless of our politics, this disease doesn't care about whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, and we all need to figure out how we can come together as communities to fight coronavirus.
My guest is the Surgeon General, Dr. Jerome Adams. Dr. Adams, I'm sure you know about the briefing that Governor Cuomo gave this morning, in which he said, based upon a sample, it looks like as many as 13.9% of New Yorkers might have already had the coronavirus. What is your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction, to be honest with you, is that's not surprising because New York has the largest number of cases in the entire world. I think it's important for people to know that we've done similar sampling in the Seattle area, and the rates are around 1% to 2%. And so it's going to be different in different parts of the country based on their burden of disease. What we really want people to understand is the upside of that is that it means that the death rates are actually a lot lower than what people predicted, because the more people who have it, the lower your death rate is going to be. So it's looking to be closer to the flu in terms of the mortality or the number of people who die over the number of people who actually get the disease. But regardless, the good news also is that we're seeing the curve flattened, and we're seeing cases coming down all across the country. And if we keep doing the right things, then we'll get out of this with a lot fewer deaths than many people predicted. And I know you've been following that. Some of the projections earlier on were millions, hundreds of thousands of deaths, and every death is a tragedy. But I just want to say thank you to the American people for really making the sacrifices early on that were necessary to help flatten the curve and prevent more people from dying.
Dr. Adams, the administration has been criticized by some for not having an adequate number of face masks, not having enough adequate number of ventilators. On the CDC website, it's got a whole thing on what governors' responsibilities are, and it says this: stockpile equipment and supplies, which may be in short supply, such as masks, ventilators, hand sanitizers, medications such as antivirals, and some antibiotics for pneumonia, end of quote. I've never heard anybody in the administration say at the podium, well, have you guys checked what the CDC says about what your responsibilities are?
Well, and that's a great point you bring up, too. And a lot of people don't know that I also used to run a state Department of Health. I ran the State Department of Health in Indiana for 3 years. And preparedness happens at the federal level with the stockpile, but it's also supposed to happen at the state level with state stockpiles, and it's supposed to happen in hospitals. And one of the lessons learned from all of this is that no one anywhere in the world was adequately prepared for a pandemic of these proportions. And so one of the things we're doing from the administration's point of view is not only dealing with the acute crisis, but you've heard the president say this. We're going to make sure we got ventilators stocked up. We're going to make sure we got masks stocked up.
15 seconds, Dr. Adams. I'm sorry, 15 seconds.
Oh, no, absolutely. We just want to make sure we're prepared in case something like this comes back again at all levels.
Dr. Adams, thank you very much for taking the time. Political life in your future? Senate? Governor?
Oh, my gosh. No.
No one's approached you?
Back to seeing patients.
No one's approached you at all? Dr. Adams, no one's approached you?
I've been approached, but I just want to go back to seeing patients again. This political world is not for me.
All right, doctor. Thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it.